All right, so I'm not going to go over all of that again, but I'll give you 30 seconds to draw up the QR code. I mean, sorry, to grab the QR code really quickly. And again, these slides will be made available afterwards if anybody needs to grab anything off of there as well. So go ahead and move to that quick win slide really fast. We'll try that again. Always fun, always fun. There's never a dull moment in Sheila, just know that, or with me, period. So again, well, now Motorola and Turner, we're going to make sure that you're on the screen when I thank you. So thank you so very much for your generosity towards our program, because of course, without you, we would not be able to put this program on. Again, the quick wins that you can now see. By the end of this session, you will be able to explain at least 3 reasons why engineering is a great choice, describe at least 2 ways you can be successful in preparing for an engineering career, and also identify at least 1 engineering type that fits your interests and passions. A couple things before we get started. Again, I know a lot of you all are always looking for the on-demand recordings, the takeaway assignments, and any other corresponding materials that you have from each session. Remember that they will be made available in the Google Classroom. You all should have received a link and a class code. If you have not received that yet, you can go ahead and email me at SWENext@SWE.org, and we'll make sure that you all get that, all of that information for the Google Classroom. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time because I know you all have heard me say all of the housekeeping items throughout this week, so I won't go into too many details. We'll save that for the end because I would love to jump into our actual speaker for the evening. So you might have seen her. She's a familiar face. She's been with us all week, Mary Zeis. She is going to be presenting on why engineering is a great choice, because I know some of you all have spent some time trying to figure out where do you exactly fit in. We spent majority of the week talking about confidence and how to find confidence to pursue whatever dream you want, and she's going to kind of help you get that feel on that, on what exactly that will look like for you all going forward. She's been a part of our SWENext programs committee. She's been our committee chair, and she's been a lifer for SWE, and she's a great example of what a role model looks like for inspiring young people to really pursue a career in engineering. I hope you all take everything away from this evening because she's going to give you so much knowledge. So I'm going to give the floor to Mary Zeis. Go ahead and share your wisdom with the group tonight.
Thank you so much, Marquita. I think I need to have you in my life. I need you to introduce me anywhere I go. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. So there are probably many of you who know who I am, but let me give a quick background for those of you who don't. So my name is Mary Zeis. I grew up in Pittsburgh and went to the University of Pittsburgh, and I became a chemical engineer. I worked in research and development at Procter Gamble, where I got to work on new and improved versions of brands such as Tide, Pampers, Crest, and Dawn dishwashing liquid. And it was really cool because I could call home to my mom, because I was in Cincinnati at the time. I could call home and say, "Hey, Mom, do you see that Tide with bleach on the store shelf? I was working on that. I was the chemical engineer on that." And that was just so much fun. I'm now retired after 31 years, and you might be wondering, well, what do I do with my time? Well, my current passion is STEM outreach. I absolutely want to encourage as many girls as possible to try engineering as a career. So I'm the vice president for STEM outreach for the Pittsburgh professional section of SWE. I'm also on the SWENext programs committee. And I just do as much as I can in person, as you see here, also virtual. And I was so excited because I got to go back to in person just on Tuesday, where the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey team, yes, the hockey team, put on a Science at Play event. And so we had an activity table, and it was great. So that's a little bit about me. Now what I'd like to do is learn a little bit about you. So if you could go ahead and take the poll and tell me about yourself. Everybody take the poll. Only 30, somebody stopped it too soon, so I'm going to relaunch. Because we only had, so please take it again. Please take it again. Because we only had 30 people. There we go. There we go. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. All right, great. All right, so we have a third are 12th graders, almost a third are 11th graders, and then 17% and 20% are 9th and 10th grade. So this is great. So later on when we're in the breakout rooms, you 12th graders, you've been around a bit on your path, on your journey. Please make sure you reach out to the 9th and 10th graders and share your wisdom. Okay, let me launch the second poll. Just a second. All right. Do you want to be an engineer or computer scientist? Go ahead and vote. Yes, I'm ready. Maybe need to know more. I don't think so, but I'm willing to learn more. Vote, 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 vote. Waiting for everybody to vote. All right. This is super. So 57% of you are ready. That's excellent. So perhaps the earlier part of my presentation won't necessarily apply since you're already convinced, but maybe the latter part where I tell you how to prepare for success, maybe that will. And for you 41% who think maybe I need to know more before I decide, hey, maybe I can convince you with this presentation. All right, super. Thank you so much for that. As you can see, I absolutely love audience participation. So please type answers in the chat. Please ask questions in the chat. I have some engineers moderating the chat box for me. And so they will be there answering your questions if I can't get to them. So Marquita already explained the learning outcomes. I like to think of it as 3, 2, 1, 3 reasons why it's a great career choice. Perhaps you might have a friend or a relative who will say, why do you want to go into engineering? Well, you're going to get some reasons for that. You'll be ready to answer. Describe at least 2 ways that you can be successful and maybe identify at least one engineering type that will fit your passions and interests. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you, okay, there's a slide missing, Marquita, but I'm just going to roll on through. So I'm going to give you the 5 reasons. Actually, before I do that, before I give my 5 reasons, the slide that's missing is the one that said, why is engineering a great career choice? So go ahead and type in the chat box. Why do you think engineering is a great career choice? And let's see what you have to say. And Marquita, if you would read the chats for me, that would be great. So why is engineering a great career choice?
Our girl NEL said it's very versatile. Keep them coming, guys. Can benefit a lot of people. It's really cool to make things. I saw it's super creative and you have so much impact from Dashita. Isha said it is something that helps to progress our society in technologies and innovation. It's the future. Great call, Julie. Raquel said solves problems. Janae said you can help a lot of people. Keisha said it deals with so many different fields. Chloe, fun to innovate and work with a team. Yeah, Anjali said there are a lot of pathways.
All right. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, you got
wonderful.
it?
Yeah. Oh, those are wonderful, wonderful. And so I'm going to give you my 5 reasons why I think engineering is a great career choice. So my first reason is that it's full of exciting challenges. So what are some challenges that exist in the world today that engineering could help solve? Go ahead and type your thoughts in the chat box. What are some challenges that exist in the world today? Climate change.
Climate change.
Big one. Clean water. Oh my gosh, not just a third world problem either. It's even here in the United States. Global warming, lack of sustainability, soil and erosion.
Resources.
Alternatives to plastic. That would be great, right?
Trash.
Yeah, dealing with the trash. Yep. All right. These are great.
Lack of education.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Poverty gap.
Good reasons. So here are some challenges that I believe engineers could help solve. Less pollution from factories, for sure. That was mentioned. Better medicines, right? We had a pandemic that required new to the world vaccines, and engineers played a huge role in developing and producing that vaccine. Clean energy from wind farms, better medical equipment. That's just really important. You know, about 25 years ago, my husband had a brain tumor, and it was benign, thank goodness, right? But he had to get an MRI so they could see into his head exactly where the tumor was and where the blood vessels were that were feeding that tumor to keep that tumor alive. And I had a colleague who said, yeah, my dad had a brain tumor like that 30 years ago. They actually had to cut his entire skull open to look, because they didn't have imaging equipment that could say where that tumor was. So just like better medical equipment, we're living and benefiting from that every single day. Here's some more challenges. This is Fiona Redmond. She's an electrical engineer. In fact, she was chair of the SWENext programs committee last year. She works for Hughes Network, and they're working on better communication satellites. This is Deanna. She's a civil engineer. She works for Caltran in California, working on infrastructure, bridges in particular. This is Helen Greiner. She's a mechanical engineer. She's actually a co-founder of the company called iRobot, which makes that Roomba vacuum cleaner that you might have seen. But the iRobot company also makes robots like this that can help protect our military personnel. You can imagine sending that robot into a dangerous situation to be the eyes and ears of the armed forces before they were in trouble. And of course, this is Mae Jemison. She was the first African American in space, and she has a chemical engineering undergraduate degree and she became then a medical doctor, and then she became an astronaut. And exploring space is still a big challenge that engineers could help solve. The National Academy of Engineering, back in around 1997, 1998, they actually came up with this list of the engineering grand challenges for the 21st century. And you can see some of the things we've already talked about on this list. Just a few, clean water, securing cyberspace. There's been at least 2 big cyber attacks this calendar year so far that we know about. One that shut down a energy pipeline, one that shut down a meat production facility. We definitely need engineers to help solve that. And making solar energy economical, we talked about that. So lots and lots of challenges, and engineers are solving the world's biggest challenges all of the time. Here's the second reason why engineering is a great career choice. It's a broad and diverse field. There is something for everyone. And what I'd like to do now is have you tell me, and we're going to spend about 8 minutes here, so I'll get to as many people as I can. What are you interested in? What are you passionate about? What do you like learning about? I know I've talked to girls who say, yeah, I want to go into engineering, but I'm not sure what kind of engineering. And what I'd like to do is try to help you figure out what kind of engineering. So if you wanted to be spotlighted and talk to me about what kind of engineering or what things you're passionate about, what you're interested in, what you like to learn about, I can match you up with a type of engineering. So anybody raising their hand? Any of y'all?
Yeah, thank you. So I actually have a lot of interests, but I could never connect them. I remember, I think yesterday or the day before, we went to breakout rooms and we were talking about our STEM powers and how we could connect them. And I remember that I couldn't really connect all of my interests because they're kind of like all over the place. But I am personally, I like doing things hands-on. Even in school, I like things that are more hands-on. One of my very big interests is traveling and exploring different cultures and languages. So, and I really enjoy project management. There was a camp I went to, which was a workplace simulation, and I kind of took the manager role subconsciously. Like I wasn't assigned. I realized I just enjoyed like leading a group of people towards a goal. So I was wondering how those 3 could be connected.
Yeah. So really, it first comes down to, though, like, what do you love learning about? Do you love biology? Do you love chemistry? Do you love physics? And that could help put you in the right sphere, right circle. And then in any of these circles, there are technical roles and managerial roles. So any of these, you could be a manager. And then in terms of your international travel, you would want to work for a large global company. I worked for Procter Gamble. I got to travel to Spain, England, Germany, Mexico, Venezuela, Japan, Canada, and I think I'm missing one, but I got to travel to all of those places. And in fact, I had people reporting to me that were in Germany for 2 or 3 years. And then another time I had people reporting to me that were in Mexico, Venezuela, and Argentina, depending on different projects that I was managing. So really, first, find out what you're really passionate about and love from a scientific standpoint. And then the managerial and the travel, that comes along with picking the right company. Okay, how about Anjali?
Hi, I'm Anjali. I'm planning on pursuing architecture in university after high school. I'm pretty set on that.
Mm-hmm. Architectural engineering?
Yeah, engineering or design.
Okay. Do you know what school you want to go to? I know Penn State here in Pennsylvania has the #2 program in architectural engineering. So,
yeah, I'm thinking about UT Austin, Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, those are all good ones too. All right, so you already know. Okay, how about Keisha? Keisha, are you there? Did I lose Keisha? If you're talking, we can't hear you. All right, we'll move on to Amina. What are you interested and passionate about?
Yeah, hello. I've always really loved biology, so I was thinking of maybe pursuing a career in healthcare. Or, oh, are you hearing me all right?
I'm barely hearing you.
Okay, is it better now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I really love biology, so I was either interested in like healthcare, like the medicine side of things, or like biomedical engineering, because I love research. Like whenever there were research competitions, I would really enjoy those. And I love the content as well. I think it's really interesting. So right now I'm just really trying to choose between biomedical engineering or just like the whole medicine and like the pre-med track and everything.
Yeah. So this is what I tell people who tell me that they love biology and maybe they want to be a medical doctor one day. What I tell them is that you're going to need a 4-year undergraduate degree in something in order to get into medical school. And so why not biomedical engineering? I in fact know a young woman who went and graduated from the University of Pittsburgh. She was their SWE president of their University of Pittsburgh SWE section. She had a biomedical engineering degree. She went on to medical school and she is now a practicing gynecologist. So, she just went on right on by. I also know 2 or 3 other people who actually had chemical engineering undergraduate degrees. And after working as a chemical engineer for a few years, they thought, I think I'd rather go to med school. So they went off and they went to med school, much like the astronaut Mae Jemison did. So yeah, I would encourage you to consider engineering, even if you're interested in medical school, simply because it's an incredible background then. You get to work with doctors on different projects in biomedical engineering. So that would be the way I'd go. Is there anybody else with their hand up or anybody in the chat? Coding, of course, software engineering would be great for that. Lori and I agree, mechanical engineering is a very broad field, so that's a good one. Anybody else want to talk about, like, what are you passionate about? What do you like learning about? When I do this in person, I go around to every single person in the room and I ask them. It's usually a lot of fun. A little harder to do that online. So anyway, the whole point here, though, is that no matter what you're interested in, there is an engineering field for you, and we can match you up. And maybe you can talk more about that during the breakouts. Here's my third reason why engineering is a great career choice. There are really, really good starting salaries, significantly higher than other graduates with bachelor's degrees, and you could become financially independent. I know this was important to me. I grew up in the city of Pittsburgh in a lower middle class neighborhood, one of 7 kids. Luckily, there were loans and grants, and I was able to, make it to college and become a chemical engineer, which is great. But the fact that engineering salaries are so good, I knew that once I got out on my own, that I would be okay within an engineering career, that I would be financially independent. So here's a pop quiz. Please answer in the chat. According to the 2021 Pay Scale College Salary Report, how many of the 15 top earning starting salaries for graduates with just a bachelor's degree, that's a 4-year degree, how many of those were engineering and computer science degrees? What do you think? Okay, a lot of people are picking C, D, C, D. All right, so people are centering in on C and D, and sure enough, the answer is C. 12 of the 15 top earning salaries are engineering degrees. And I've been doing this now for about 7 years. Every year, Pay Scale College Salary Report comes out with a new report. One year, it was 14 of the 15, which is pretty incredible. And here's what it looks like. So these are the top 15 earning salaries with the BS. The top number 1 is a dual degree, electrical engineering and computer science. Petroleum engineering has been on the top of the list for the longest time. Part of that is because there aren't very many petroleum engineers, and so it's a supply and demand situation. But you can see, marine engineering, computer engineering, chemical engineering with material science engineering, just so many different engineering degrees. You could feel sort of confident taking out some loans to get your college education, because with an engineering degree, you're going to be able to pay back that student loan pretty quickly. The other point that I like to make with girls is that, yes, going into any STEM field is great, but engineers actually make more money than other STEM degrees. I found this website called collegegrads.com/salaries. And you're able to put in a city. They have something like 60 or 70 of the largest cities in the country. And you're able to put in the different degrees to see what a typical starting salary in that city might be. So I'm using Pittsburgh because that's where I'm from, but you should check and see if your city or the nearest big city is listed. And so, for example, you could be a chemist, or you could be a chemical engineer. A chemist makes $49,000 a year. Chemical engineer makes $71,000 a year as a starting salary. And that's a $22,000 difference. It's very similar with biologists and biomedical engineers. And again, a $23,000 difference. And computer scientist, a computer programmer, and a computer engineer, that's about a $15,000 difference. So engineers make more money than other STEM degrees, and you can be financially independent. And that's my third reason. My fourth reason is that you work with talented people. I like to say engineering is a team sport. And so for those of you who like to work with others, or who would rather, work as part of a team, engineering can do that for you. The engineers work on projects with experts in many different fields, different backgrounds, different countries, different fields. So for example, when I was working in the laundry and cleaning products area, I would work with chemists and statisticians, and mechanical engineers. When I worked on Crest toothpaste, I would work with biologists and clinicians, and even dentists. So it's a team sport, and that's really exciting that you get to see all these other fields and work with all these other people. And as I mentioned, even from other countries. And my fifth reason why engineering is a great career choice is that over 310,000 women can't be wrong. That's how many women are engineers right now in the United States. So that's pretty exciting. So my, ongoing message is that it's time for girls to step up and be a superhero, be the engineer, because the world needs more women engineers. We need a diverse set of minds to solve the world's problems, and we can't afford to overlook anyone with creativity and technical skills. Women make up half the world's population. They should absolutely make up half the engineers to solve the world's problems. So some of you yesterday, it sounded to me like you were a little concerned about continuing with engineering, or a little worried about it. So I'd love to know, what's holding you back? What's holding you back from being an engineer or a computer scientist? Go ahead and put some answers into the chat. What's holding you back? Is there anything holding you back? You're ready? You're ready to go? Nothing's holding you back? What do you think? Just unsure which field to go into? Absolutely. That's why we had that little, what are you passionate about? Angeli saying nothing's holding you back. Maybe you're not as good in math and physics, and that might be a little worrisome. One of the things I've heard is that when we'll reach full equality, when we encourage girls who have B's in math and science to go into engineering, just like we currently encourage boys with B's to go into math and engineering and science. Yeah, that's whatever. Okay, trying to decide to go into engineering or straight science. My recommendation on that would be start into engineering. Usually at most colleges, it's harder to get into the engineering school. And if you get into engineering for a year and a half, and you decide, I'd really rather do straight science, really easy to transfer over to the science department. But if you start in the science department and you say, wow, I think I'd really want it to be a little bit more hands-on, it's a lot harder to transfer into engineering schools. So yeah, my engineering class is full of boys, and a few make the 5 girls feel out of place. Yeah, I'm going to address that in my reasons for how to prepare for success. So we're going to move on to at least 2 ways that you can prepare for success. And I'm going to give you 7 reasons, ways to prepare for success. And at the end of this, you're going to need to pick at least 2. So why don't you think about that as we go through them? So the first is that you need to make sure you're prepared academically for rigorous coursework. And that means taking as many science and math courses as you possibly can in high school. And also, if your school offers honors or advanced placement AP courses, please go ahead and take them. And the reason you want to take them is that they are more rigorous, and they'll prepare you better for that transition from high school to college. If you're already used to taking something more rigorous, then it'll feel familiar when you get to college. And these are the standard, Marquita, when you downloaded those slides and then I brought them back out, I should have checked every single one of them, because these all got moved around in the translation. So anyway, the algebra, geometry, trig, calculus, pre-calculus is the typical math courses. And then biology, chemistry, physics are usually required by most colleges. But if your school also offers things like computer science or robotics or CAD, or even engineering, go ahead and take them. Start getting familiar with the language, with the way those things are taught, with the way that you need to study in order to learn them. Here's another way to be successful. Surround yourself with other STEM-minded girls. And so for the person who said, yeah, I'm in an engineering class and there's only 5 girls, well, make sure the 5 of you band together. There was a research study that went and looked at how girls work as teams, whether that's more useful than working by yourself. And what they did was they had a bunch of math problems, and they had one set of girls who were in a room by themselves working on these math problems. And they kept track of how long they worked on the problems. And they asked them at the end, how much fun did you have working on these problems? Then another group of girls, they let them work in teams of 2. And they calculated and kept track of how long they worked on the math problems and how much fun they had. And what they found was that the girls who worked as part of a team, they stuck with it much longer on those math problems, and they reported having a whole lot more fun. And the researchers called that the friend effect. The friend effect is really important. That's part of the reason why we have the SWENext program. That's part of the reason why all major engineering colleges have SWE sections there, so that you can be surrounded by STEM-minded girls. So if you don't have a SWENext club at your school, please start one. There are wonderful resources available for you to do that. You can probably put in the chat that you'd like to get that information, and we can make sure we send you the link to the SWENext Clubs 101 guide. If there's an existing STEM club at your school, join it. Pull along a girlfriend to come with you. And for you seniors out there, please remember to join SWE as soon as you get to college. You want those inspirational, encouraging, supportive STEM girls to be on your side. And here's the SWENext Club's information. SWENext Club could work on any kind of project you wanted. The direction of the club's completely up to you, but it really is a way to connect with SWE members and other SWENexters in your area. Here's another way to be successful. Develop a good system of time management. School might seem easy right now, but college is going to be a lot more complex. Right now, maybe you're in the classroom for 6 hours a day. In college, you might only have 3 classes during the day. And so you're going to be in the classroom for a lot fewer hours, but you're going to be expected to do a lot more work outside of the classroom. So you need to start experimenting right now with a planner, either paper or digital. And I know we talked a little bit about planners yesterday, I thought it was. If you use a planner, go ahead and share right now in the chat what kind you use, so it can be of help to other girls. How many people use some kind of planners? Both paper and the app Todoist. Yeah, what other kinds? Paper planner, passion planner, hadn't heard of that one. Paper, yeah, I'm sort of old school in terms of I still use pretty much paper. Bullet journal, but I keep thinking I need to try electronic. So maybe I need to get there. But yeah, make sure you use a planner. I was listening to a freshman advisor, a college freshman advisor, and she was telling parents of 5th graders, you need to start your kids on a planner. And the 5th grade parents were like, what? But yeah, planner. Here's another way to be successful. You have to learn how to ask for help. Your mom's not going to be at college with you, so you really need to know how to ask for help and when to ask for help. And so that might mean, going to get a tutor. That might mean to go into the professor's office hours. That might mean going to the teaching assistant or other students in your class to work on the homework together. And yes, you're allowed to work on the homework together when you're in college. So start learning how to ask for help. And if your parent is one of those parents that swoop in and rescue you, they really need to step back and let you fail now at something small, because it's really important for you to learn resiliency and persistence. And you should be assuming increasing responsibility for managing those little things. Like maybe you don't know whether or not your soccer practice is tomorrow or not. And you're, hey, mom, do you know if my soccer practice is tomorrow? Hey, maybe you should be texting your coach or texting a teammate and finding that out on your own. So start increasing those responsibilities. Here's another way to be successful. You need to be aware of stereotype threat and imposter syndrome. How many of you have heard of stereotype threat? Anybody hear of stereotype threat? Yes, some people have heard of it. Yeah. Well, you know what stereotypes are, right? You know, girls are bad at math. That's a stereotype we hear a lot. And that's actually not true. There's research that shows that girls actually get higher grades in math and science than boys do. In this chart, the green line are girls, the purple line are boys, and along the bottom are the years that these researchers did this study. What they did was they went up to over 720 high schools across the United States, and they said, please send me the transcripts of everybody who graduated. And so they went through the transcripts and they calculated the average grade point average for all the math and science courses combined. And you can see for every year they studied, girls are consistently getting higher grades than boys are in math and science. And so some people, when I show them this chart, they say, yeah, but I bet you the girls weren't taking as many science or math courses as the boys. And that's not true either. Again, the boys are purple, the girls are green, and you can see slightly more girls took biology, a lot more girls took chemistry, slightly more boys took physics, more girls took pre-calculus. The calculus numbers and the engineering numbers are almost the same, statistically the same. So girls are taking as many math and science courses in high school as boys do. And yet the stereotype persists that girls can't do math or are bad at math. And so that leads to this problem called stereotype threat. So here's the setup. Researchers took college students that had equal abilities in math, both boys and girls, and they split them in two, and in one classroom, boys and girls were there, and equal ability in math and science to start with, right? And what they said was, oh, thank you so much for volunteering to take this math test for us. We just want to try it out for future years. Oh, by the way, our research so far shows that boys are much better at this test than girls. Okay. They had another group of students equally, ability in math. And in that room, they said, thank you so much for taking this math test that we're testing out for future years. Oh, by the way, our research shows that boys and girls perform equally in this test. Well, in the room on the left, where they told the girls that boys are going to do better, oh my goodness, the boys did much better than the girls in that room. What the heck is going on? Well, the girls are just so worried in their mind, like, oh my goodness, I know I'm good at math, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. They're telling me I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm afraid I'm going to prove them right that I'm not going to be able to do it. Well, how in the world can you solve math problems if all of that's going around in your head? You can't. And the girls just didn't do very well. Now, in the room in which there was no stereotype threat condition, the girls and the boys did equally well. So stereotype threat is real. This study has been repeated multiple times, not just with male, female, but also African American and white, or other ethnicities and white. The exact same situation happens where the fully capable individual is just so worried by what they've been told and that they're afraid they're going to live up with the stereotype that they actually do perform worse. So what can we do about this? The most important thing that we can do is let you know that this is something that's real out there and not to let it stop you. We also need to just completely combat the negative stereotypes. No one should be telling you that girls are not good at math. No one. And so we need to be, as a community, we need to be celebrating the female role models in math and science. And then imposter syndrome. How many people know what imposter syndrome is? Do you know imposter syndrome? Yeah. Have you suffered from imposter syndrome? I'm thinking there's some girls on this call that suffer from imposter syndrome based on what I heard yesterday. You're doing really well in school, but somehow you think you're a fraud and that you're going to be found out. Yeah, I'm getting A's in chemistry, but I don't really understand it. Or, yeah, I have these friends and they're so much better than me on it, not realizing that maybe you're 95%, more better than other people in that subject, but the few friends that you interact with are a little better than you. And so you end up with this imposter syndrome. It can really handicap you. It can keep you from being bold and being brave and being your best. So if you have it, it's really important that you acknowledge it. You know what? I think I have imposter syndrome, and realize that nobody is perfect. So you get that bad grade in one test. That's okay. You're not perfect. Nobody is. You're going to figure it out, learn as you go, and do better the next time. You need to take note of your achievements. Write down each night what things you did well. What are your strengths? And remember that you're not alone. Please, please go talk to someone about it. Here's another one, a way to be successful is to learn how to handle failure. Girls react more negatively to potential failure. That's just sort of a fact. And unfortunately, parents and educators are often more supportive of failure in girls than in boys. So you're 1 month into your freshman year in college and you call up your dad and you're saying, "Dad, I don't think I can do this. This is so hard." And dad says, "That's okay, honey. Don't worry. You could also always transfer to something easier. It's okay." Meanwhile, the son calls up and says, "Dad, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this." And dad says, "Hey, I'm paying good money for this education. You're going to, knuckle down and do better." It's like, what's going on here? There's research that shows that parents are a lot more supportive of failure. The other piece of research that's out there that's really unfortunate, and I hate that that's true, is that female engineering students are more likely to react to the college realities. And the reality is you can work really, really, really hard and still get a bad grade. And that's because it's a different kind of learning. It's a different way that you need to learn. You need to be doing lots of homework problems, etc. And so they do bad in a test and they start doubting their abilities and they start transferring out of engineering. In one of my early physics tests, my freshman year of college, I actually got a 15. A 15 out of 100, mind you. I got a 15. I was pretty freaked out, but I realized that I mustn't have studied the right way. I sought out other people who did better on that test, and I figured out what I was doing wrong. And this other thing about female engineering students dropping out, my husband's also a chemical engineer. He ended up graduating with like a 2.8 out of a 4.0 GPA. He never once thought of dropping out of engineering just because his grades fell below a 3.0. And girls do that all the time. I have a brother who's a material science engineer, he's younger than me, younger brother. He ended up with like a 2.7 in engineering. He never once thought of dropping out, even though he was below a 3.0. And these were not the same kind of grades he had gotten in high school. And he ended up being a vice president of a plastics company. So please remember this, when your grades are not perfect in college, do not drop out of engineering if it's something that you love. You can do it. You can be successful. And finally, adopt a growth mindset. You have to believe that intelligence can be developed. The brain is like a muscle, just like a muscle of your bicep. And if you wanted to beef up your bicep, you'd use heavier and heavier weights. If you want to beef up your brain, you have to take harder and harder courses, and you need to do a lot of repetition, a lot of homework problems, and you can develop that brain. You really need to embrace a challenge as a learning opportunity. That's how I handled that 15 in physics, that 15 score in physics test. I said, hey, this is a real challenge. I know I can do better than this. I got A's in physics in high school. I can do better than this. I'm going to learn how to do that. You don't give up easily. You need to persist. You need to know that the effort that you put in is your pathway to mastery. And you really need to learn from any useful feedback that anyone's willing to give you. I had a chemistry teacher reach out to me, which was really amazing. If you think about it, the first semester I'd taken his class and I'd done really well. Second semester, I'm a month in and I wasn't doing really well. And he actually asked me to stay after class. And I thought, uh-oh, I'm in trouble now. But really, he just wanted to understand, like, what wasn't I understanding? Why was I doing so badly in that last test? And, having these supporters, these champions, they can be really helpful to you. And finally, don't be threatened by others people's success. There's always going to be someone that's smarter than you, that's better than you. Instead of being threatened by them, please be inspired instead. So those are my 7 ways to be successful. And what I'd like to do now, maybe take a quick screenshot of these 7 ways, because you're going to be going into the breakout rooms in just a minute. And it would be good if you knew these 7 ways, because this is what I want you to talk about inside the breakout room. So what will you choose to do to successfully prepare for a STEM degree? We're going to put you in the breakout room with an engineering professional. I'd love it if you would turn on your camera for them and talk with them and see what you'd choose to do to be successful, and what doubts or what thoughts you might have. And it's also an opportunity, if you didn't get matched up with a type of engineering, this would be a great time to do that too. So Marquita, are you ready to put us in?
Yes, give me 1 second. Let me clarify for the engineers that are going to be going in the room. Do not join just yet. I'm going to open the rooms now. Hold off. I will add you to the room. Students, please be patient as we get you assigned, okay? All right, looks like everybody's come back in. Can I get some unmutes so I know you guys are in the room? Everybody's back in?
We're here.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
All right. I hope you had an interesting conversation in your breakout rooms. And what I'd love to do right now is I would love to hear what you're going to choose to do to be successful. So if you'd like to share and be spotlighted, go ahead and raise your hand and Marquita will call on you. I'd love to hear what are you going to do to be successful as you prepare for a STEM degree, STEM career. Be brave, be bold.
Come on, guys. I know we can get at least one hand. Maybe some of you guys are still oh, I got a hand. I got a hand. Awesome. Jasmine, give me 1 second to spotlight you. And go ahead. You can begin talking, Jasmine.
Oh,
Go ahead, Jasmine.
I can't really turn on my camera right now, but
okay. Okay, no problem.
I was just gonna say what we will do, or what I will do. I'm pretty interested in art and animation, and so we talked about engineering in animation companies and having the problem-solving mindset to do so many different things, but then also coding in engineering and coding in animation companies, so that you can also be part of that but still have different skills. And so I thought I would take more classes to I'm sorry, there's a car but to make my skill better in coding and also in art and animation.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Carnegie Mellon here in Pittsburgh has a really cool program that links, because Carnegie Mellon's actually a good theater school too. Some actors and actresses went to Carnegie Mellon because they have a good degree in that. They now have sort of a combined degree that is in the, motion picture / theater / with engineering. So there are programs out there like that. And I was talking with another colleague of mine. Her daughter is a motion picture engineer. She's working on innovations in the motion picture industry. So there are different degrees out there. You research them and find them out.
That's really interesting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And yeah, you're up next.
It's any y'all.
Any y'all. I'm going to get it right, girl. I'm going to get it right.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. It's all right. Hopefully I didn't take up most of my breakout room's time, but my questions mostly about time management. It's definitely something I've struggled with. because especially I'm a freshman. I just went to high school like a week ago, and they started like piling us on with homework already. And I have all these like personal responsibilities like at home too. And I've been like really struggling to be able to have a balance. And Raquel, who was like the professional in our breakout room, she advised to use a planner and prioritize and have 3 things that I definitely need to do today to do for both academically and like personal responsibilities, and like just get a plan instead of having it all come at me. So that's what I learned.
Get in front of it all, right? Absolutely. Get in front of it all, have a plan, figure out what you want. Yeah. Anybody else like to share? 2 more participants. How about Kelly?
Hi. So definitely for my STEM career, I'm aiming towards doing computer science. So for that, to prepare for that, what I talked about in my breakout room was definitely taking opportunities to, like, especially with my current circumstances at my personal school. It's a really small school, so there's not many clubs. So definitely one big step that I'm going to take is this year I'm going to open a my own STEM club. So I really wanted to do that on my own. And I definitely have taken steps to do that, gotten approved and stuff. And for now, it's just a matter of building on the curriculum and what I'm going to do in that club. And then outside of that club, I plan to like self-study computer science, AP Computer Science A. And my engineer in my breakout room told me to definitely stay up to date and like keep up with those classes and take like you said, Mary, take the rigorous coursework. So yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, that sounds all really good. I hope it's a SWENext club. You can go ahead and be a SWENext club with computer science too. So start a SWENext club. And yeah, I think there's so much coding online courses that you can take. I think it looks great on your resume if you have the time and the energy to take some of those, even if your high school does not offer them. All right, anybody else like to share?
I think Lori had some summaries as well from her group.
I took notes. So basically, something we mentioned about as far as looking for internships, one person said specifically to Boeing has them offered for high school kids. Making sure you're taking your AP courses, also doing the coding, taking courses at local colleges. I know that's a good one, especially to, looks good on scholarships. Going to some engineering and coding camps. So I noticed there's a lot of those out there. So that's a really good thing to do. And also self-teach yourself some skills on the internet. You can Google about anything and learn anything on the internet. So that's just a phenomenal opportunity. Somebody mentioned, and I've actually heard that in people in their interviews with my company. So. All
right. Thank you so much for everybody sharing. To summarize, engineering is a great career. I loved my career at Procter Gamble. I learned so much. I met so many wonderful people. I was able to travel around the world. And girls deserve to have engineering careers because they're needed to help solve the world's problems. So please stay true to what you're seeing and feeling now in terms of an engineering career. And I think you'll be successful, and SWE and SWENext are always here to help you. So thank you so much for attending today's session.
All right. Thank you so much, Mary. You all know what to do. Show her some love in that chat. This was a fabulous session. This is something that makes you critically think about your journey and where you want to go, where you're currently at in terms of what you see yourself being. This is something that's really important, guys. We want to actually take that time to really change the position of where we think about ourselves and what our limitations are. I think think some things that I really took away from this is like, I think you guys saw this in the chat. I put the whole idea that, and what I noticed is just there are so many outdated standards that are providing all this like research that's incorrect, and you have this really current research proving all of those old ideas wrong. So it's important for us to kind of step into our suit, our superhero suit, and literally show the world exactly what engineers look like, right? So I think that's super important, and I hope you guys took that away from this session. So please make sure that you are looking at the screen right now and you see the post-event survey is there. You will get your reminder email to close as well after the session is over with. That will have the link to the survey as well. Take a picture of that QR code and go ahead and let us know what you thought. Give us some good feedback. As always, I want to thank our sponsors really quickly for sponsoring our session. If you can hop to the next slide. Yes, so thank you to our SHLA sponsors, Motorola Solution Foundation and Turner Construction, because of course without y'all, there would be no us. So thank you for all you all do for our programming for SWE. Again, this session was titled Why Engineer is a Great Career Choice and Ways to Be Successful with Mary Zeis and our SWE member engineering professionals. Please give them a big hand. Anybody who wants to do a special shout out to their room's engineer, go ahead and drop that in the chat as well, because we do appreciate their time dedicated to our program as well. Just a couple housekeeping items. As I promised, we'll go over the little bits and pieces that we sometimes will forget that we need to do. So of course you want to complete the takeaway assignment from tonight's session as well as the past sessions that have been completed. They'll all be made available in the Google Classroom. You should see an invitation link in a class code within your acceptance email. If you guys have not gotten that, go ahead and email me at SWENext@SWE.org, or I can manually invite you to the classroom as well. All of your materials, your PowerPoint slide deck, any individual sessions like pre-post work will be in there in addition to your takeaway assignments. They're all going to be there. And of course, the most important thing about the Google Classroom is that you get to network and be amongst your peers and build community within that classroom. So please take advantage of that. I see that a lot of you all are already engaging with each other, answering each other's questions, which you know I love. So thank you guys for doing that. Also, these sessions will be made available within 24 to 48 hours or by the end of each summit's week. So please be patient with us as we try to get those uploaded for you. And they'll also be made available on the YouTube playlist for SWENext TV SHLA. And if you have not taken an opportunity to get into our SHLA playlist on Spotify, make sure that you get into that Google Doc that we have within the Google Classroom as well. That gives you a link to the Spotify channel, and you can add whatever songs you would like to hear before we start each session, and hopefully you'll be able to actually hear the music this time around. All right. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. And I hope you all will be back tomorrow for our SWENext Connect mentoring session. It will be at 6:30 CT. Well, let me rephrase that. 6:30 p.m. CT tomorrow. So make sure you come with all your questions. We'll have the floor for you to ask them to our special engineers. So again, come ready to work, because we'll have an activity for you for STEM pathway options. This was a great lead into that as well. So we'll see you all tomorrow.